What's going on? Really dope independent artists. It's your boys. Boy flying around because his name presents Blight School. And today's lesson is part 3 of a series we got, Why Did Your Music Fail in 2025 and How to Fix It, right? And we are calling part 3 of this whole thing the power of the pivot. Because when we come to a decision and we start really noticing something happening, we have to ask ourselves 2 questions. A, do we keep going? Or B, do we make that left? I used to get lost in my city. I gotta admit something. Yeah, I gotta admit, it's so funny. So I'm from Detroit, right? And I love me and my sis. We used to ride around coming back from like shows or the movies or hanging out with other friends. Me and my sister would be in the car driving and we would get lost together and we would just throw on some music, right? And we'd be going on the freeway. And as we are going down the freeway, we are not knowing where we're going. We got some gas, we turn on some music, we vibe, and we're like, okay, we're just gonna find our way back home. We have to make a decision when that off ramp comes, when it is Schoolcraft, or when it is 7 Mile, when it is Greenfield, when those next off ramps come, do we take it or do we keep going? Right? And that's why I created this series, or not just this series, but I'm sorry, this title to part 3 of like, should you keep going or should you take the off ramp? It's a very powerful thing because the off ramp is the pivot, right? And if we are saying our music is going, we love our music, we make sure everything is solid within the foundation of our music, but it's still, we're not seeing the numbers, we're not seeing the results we wanted. We might want to pivot because it may be the case that once you check everything, it's not that you have a bad product, you just might have a bad strategy. And so instead of throwing away the product, maybe we throw away the strategy, right? So my hopes is that once you get through this today's episode, that you understand when to pivot, because I think we all have to pivot, especially when we're doing the music industry, the music thing, and everything. We have to pivot at some point, or we will lose. You know what I'm saying? If you look at any artist, any of your favorite artists, they stayed true to themselves, but they knew when to pivot, right? And it's super important. Sometimes pivoted means to go in a whole nother way of sound, or sometimes pivoted might be step back from the game for a minute and then step back in. You know what I'm saying? Um, I remember when Jay-Z was talking about 50 Cent, and he said, y'all better get all your music out because 50 is coming. And if you guys don't, you're just going to have to hit the bench and just ride this whole thing out. And a lot of times that's what it is. It's like, you have to know when to put your music in, and when not to. So let's look at a couple of things. One of the artists, I got my notes here, y'all. I hope you got your notes too, because we're gonna be writing them down. So one of the artists that I really looked up to, and I feel like got the pivot, was an artist, a really strong Latin artist. And the crazy thing about this Latin artist, he also did like reggaeton, he also did hip hop as a whole. This artist goes by the name of Armando Perez. Yeah, I think I got that right. Armando Perez, right? Um, AKA Pitbull. Pitbull, if you know his story, he started off as a battle rapper, right? He would go, he was straight in that Eminem lane, right? He was in that whole thing. He was like, look, I'm a pit bull. You know what I'm saying? I'm going after it hard. He said that he chose that name because the pit bull refuses to lose. And I thought that was really, really interesting. You know what I'm saying? That he would even bite the chain, the lock of the chain to try to get loose when you lock it up, you know. But he would sink his teeth into something and refuse to let it go. Um, it was interesting when I was doing my research for this with him, seeing that he started off as a battle rapper. He started off doing his rap thing, and then he got in with a couple of different people. He got in with like Luke and got signed to him. He got in when he got into Luke, he took the nasty route because that was, you know, Uncle Luke's vein, you know what I'm saying, or lane, I should say, and he was riding with it, you know what I'm saying, and it was really cool. But he got to a point where he had to get off, right? He had to take the off ramp, and he got with Lil Jon. He started his music career early 2000. You know, after that, you know, I mean, got with Lil Jon, and then Little John um, had him do crunk because at the time Lil Jon was he was it was Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, yeah, you know what I'm saying. So he was all like that. So he had to fit the mold because he was on Lil Jon's record label and sound of what that was. So he was doing hip hop, he was doing reggaeton, you know, he was doing all of that. But he had to pivot. You know what I'm saying? He got to a point in which he felt like, well, he was doing the whole thing. Little John, let me back on up. He was in the crunk era, and all of y'all know that at some point the crunk era it died. It changed, right? And there was a new sound being birthed out of the crunk era, right? And so now he once again his music was obsolete. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just like, all right, I have to change. So it's like, if you look at his recipe, he always put music out, but it slowly started to change. You know what I'm saying? He started to put out Spanish music and Spanish hip hop stuff. And he got to a point where, you know, his music was doing well, but it wasn't, and he was wearing the baggy shirts. He was just, like I said, coming out that crunk era. But it wasn't, I believe, until like almost 9 years later when he took off the long tees and stuff, and he stopped like repping like the hood of it all, and then he started to wear the suits, right? And he put on the shades, and he switched his branding from just like a hip hop Spanish artist to a pop dance music artist. That's when he started getting his number ones. That's when he started cracking the codes on the charts. You know what I'm saying? That's when he started to put music going in the soundtrack. I think he did Men in Black 3. You know, they said like he was the only, and he had a leading single, and that leading single was the first time in the franchise that Will Smith never did it. You know what I'm saying? So they gave it to Pitbull. His whole career changed with him leaving the baggy shirts and putting on a suit and a tie, and his sound changed a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because he went from just all crunk and hip hop, you know what I'm saying, you know, to dance pop and electronics, like I just said. It all changed, you know what I'm saying? It switched up, and he started doing brand deals, and he started leaving no money on the table. He wasn't, you know, he kept the hardcore ness about himself, but he pivoted, right? He pivoted. He still brought the hip hop with him, but he pivoted. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of that also was because of like Black Eyed Peas at the time. They started off boom bap, you know what I'm saying? And they jumped into, you know what I'm saying, pop. They pivoted. And sometimes we want to say that people sold out, you know what I'm saying, or upset, you know what I'm saying, that they went pop. But in all of our lives, we have to know when to pivot, because had they not pivoted it, they might not have gone to the heights they wanted to, or their career could have been over because they didn't hit that ceiling. See, as artists, we have to know, and when we don't pivot, we're on the time clock. You know what I'm saying? We're running out of time with it all because we don't know how to pivot. Because if you know how to pivot at the right time, the right place, boom, you can have your career, and it can have longevity. You are launched. But knowing when the right time, the right pivot. All right. I think I said enough about that. I think y'all get it. I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. I think another part of like pivoting is understanding how to control your narrative. What I love about Pitbull, is he started off as a rapper, you know what I'm saying? But they started calling him more of a singer, songwriter. You'll start seeing a lot of these phrases connected to artists and everything because at the end of the day, you have to control your narrative. And that's the best power of an independent artist. Being able to control our narrative is so crucial. Because then we're able to share our stories in ways that it not just relates and connects with our audience, but gives the visualization of who we are. I remember I was talking to this one artist and I was like, don't call yourself a rapper, call yourself a poet, call yourself a poet songwriter, and he was like, why? You know what I'm saying? I'm a rapper. It's like, yeah, but when you have that word, people expect a certain look and sound when it comes to rap. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you don't have that look or that sound, you can still be unique, you know what I'm saying? But you got to kill it. So a good example, even when I was telling him, is like if you go to the store and you say you're a rapper, you know what I'm saying, to the man, maybe uh in line in front of you, he's gonna say, give me a freestyle. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't kill that freestyle, like kill it, it hurts the brand. It hurts how people see you. And that's what is about a lot of it in the when you are doing music, how people see you, how they perceive you, right? Because you are the brand. So I was like, if you can't kill that freestyle, you will lose that fan. And we were, and it sounds something small because it's like, oh, what does it matter? It's one person. But that one person could tell five, that could tell 15, that could tell 30. You know what I'm saying? Whether you did good or whether you did bad. So it's like whatever you call yourself, there is a expectation. And if you cannot do it, boom. No career, no fans. Because the only way we can have a career is if when we put out music, people connect with it, right? People can't connect to your freestyles, or people can't connect to your acapellas. Like they can't, if you can't pick up some drumsticks and start banging on the wall and sound good, you know what I'm saying? Like without the studio, without the glitz, without the glamour, you know what I'm saying? If you can't write somebody a song or play somebody's or whatever they can, or do some poetry, spoken word, people are going to sleep right through that because we're coming to a stage. I was watching Will I Am. He was talking about they were talking about the whole stage of this era of AI, and he said like it's coming to a stage and a time where people are going to shift from really listening and like streaming music, you know what I'm saying, so much more, to really buying live and coming to see you live. And it's a good shift for us as independent artists because then we can charge, $30 a ticket, $20 a 10. We can start making up that money that we lost, you know what I'm saying, via audio sales or whatever. But if you can't kill it live, he was like, you're going to lose. This is Will I Am, So, at the end of the day, it's the wordings that we have to wrap ourselves in because that's how we can control the narrative, how we can pivot it. I was telling somebody else the other day, I think we talked about it last week about being in a box. It's not the fact we're all in boxes. It's not the fact that you don't want to be out the box. You have to put yourself in a box. But here is the case. When you put yourself in a box, you control the width, the length. You control everything around you. When people put you in a box, you can't control it. But if you put yourself in a box, you can control the atmosphere, right? So you want to do that, you know what I'm saying? So you can control the narrative of who you are and what you do so that people can say, oh, okay, I get it. Don't set my mind to listen to a rapper, set my mind to listen to a poet. It's a big difference because if you go off beat and you can't, connect words, or you just, what I'm saying, sound a certain way, the perception notice is that you're whack. Well, maybe you were just a poet all along. So you have to control that. So, okay. Um, it was really interesting because a sound that came out, I would say late 90s, early 20s, was called Neo Soul, right? Neo Soul didn't really exist, but the story is told that Neo Soul wasn't really a genre of music. This gave you your Erica Badu's, your Jill Scotts, your Floyd Trees, um, your Reese, you know what I'm saying? Some of the others, almost even your Commons at the time, right? So now I want to say your early 2000s, it was a genre of music, Now at these days, like SZA would be in that, you know what I'm saying? Um, so they came up with a genre they call it neo soul, but it was never really a genre. It was a way for a marketing company to help a record label market their artists. You know what I'm saying? Their older artists. So instead of it saying it's like golden R&B, they said, "Oh, it's neo soul." They controlled the narrative because their artists were older and they had a different look and sound. So they said that this is what this is so that we could have a different perception, of it, and what's the word? Like we can expectation, that's the word. We could have a different expectations about it, right? Because wrong set expectations will lead to frustration. That's why you want to control the narrative of who you are and how you sound, because you're teaching people how to listen to you so you can teach them what to expect from you, so you can deliver a great product, a unique product to them, and it will settle their expectations of who you are, and it will attract them, and they will tell people about you so you can attract new clients, so you can not clients, new fans, to come and buy your music, because they were like, oh, you're supposed to look like this. Oh, you're supposed to sound like this. Oh, you're supposed to be offbeat. Oh, you're supposed to sound like house. Oh, you're supposed to be a little bit more rock in the hip hop category, because that's their expectation. Words set expectations. That's why we have to be careful, even when we're setting up our social medias, what words we use to describe who we are. Make sense? All right. Um, when we have that, we look at the different things that we can do with our music, right? We're learning the expectation of it. And I think another subcategory, even to what we're talking about today, is how to remix it. I was talking to another artist or a client of mine's about his music. And I was saying, your music is fire, but the total package will limit you to who you may reach. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't any insult to him, or, what I'm saying, his stylings or whatever the case may be. But I was like, your music lacks some things that people expect from your genre, and his genre, excuse me, was hip hop. And I was like, you know what I'm saying? I like the way you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? You have a great sound. You can create a great atmosphere. But I said, because there's some things that's lacking in it, the expectation people will have for your music will lead them in frustration. And if it leads them to frustration, they will leave you alone. So let's switch the expectation so that you can attract new fans and they can say, oh, this is you being revolutionary versus you being whack. You know what I'm saying? And I said, why don't we take your hip hop records and remix them, but not just remix them in like rock or pop. Let's remix them in a way of like EDM dubstep. Because if we fit you more in the EDM dub category. This will set an expectation in which you will have longevity. That's A. And B, it will set an expectation that won't frustrate new consumers, new fans. They can expect you to do some hip hop in it and perform in a hip hop way. And it will help you even perform it. Like you don't have to stop performing it in a hip hop way. You can add some DJ stuff. You can add some auto tune. You can even have a great showing of it, which you're already doing, but you can just play it to a different crowd. That will be more in tune with what you're trying to do and how you sound and how you look, because it all plays a role, in your music and stuff, and can be very, very much impactful. How you remix a record can definitely take you from 0 to 100 really quickly, because it can take you out the category and introduce new fans to you. Now, with him, that thing, I was trying to just remix not just his record, but his brand in itself so it can have longevity. But you can also stay in your lane. Let's say that you are a hip hop artist, but you had remixed it in acoustic fashion and sent it out. Once again, being able to tap into other genres will get people looking at you, you know what I'm saying, that much more, and bring something else to your shows, because you can do the hip hop version or you can do the acoustic version and really bring something great to the atmosphere. Let's keep going, y'all. I'm digging this. I hope y'all feeling it, because I'm feeling this. But it's very important, you know what I'm saying? So I always say, like, have some fun with it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, even get it into the studio in itself and, see what type of genre type music that you can come up with, I always feel like it's not a rush, you know what I'm saying, to do stuff. It's not a rush to get a project out there, especially when you're an indie artist and you don't have that demand on you. Like if you are signed, you got the demand on you, you got to put out a record by tomorrow, you know what I'm saying, 15 tracks or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But when you are indie artists, you can go in there and really play around to understand the type of genres that you can really come out with. Because if we stick even with remix, you can have one song that's hip hop and say, hey, I want to remix it 4 or 5 different ways. And take those remixes. So once I want it to be country, I want it to be acoustic guitar, I want it to be rock, and I want it to be pop. And then I have my hip hop version of it all. You can put out those records in itself and and put that up on Spotify, and all you only did was one record, and then see what one of these records do for your career. Let's see how many people respond to the different records that you come out with, because it's like, oh, if somebody responds, more to your rock record, maybe you now have that as a part of your sound, you know what I'm saying, that you may not have thought to even have. But this is the experimental way of remixing a sound and song so that you can have the most impact, because this whole thing is about learning from what we did, you know what I'm saying? So it's like maybe the way your record came out before you put it out was just a boom bap type of rap, or even, maybe a drill record type of rap, and it failed. So why not experiment with some remixes and see what that does for you? All right, let's keep going. Even with that. And then once you have that, do the photo shoot. Because I think artists, it's the simple things. You know what I'm saying? Do the photo shoots. You know what I'm saying? Now that you have, because it's all about how people perceive you and they look at, you know what I'm saying? So when you are, you know what I'm saying, on social media, like I said before, make sure you guys are protecting your brand with it all. But if you are now putting out a remix of it all, put out images that look like that type of remix. You know what I'm saying? That acoustic soul, or maybe that rock, you know what I'm saying? Make sure those images, make sure you do a photo shoot, you know what I'm saying? And add some images that maybe that genre really likes, you know what I'm saying? So maybe you are maybe a country artist, but you doing a rock remix, you know what I'm saying? Do a photo shoot with some rock, you know what I'm saying? It's type style, alternative rock style, pop style look to go with that record and put that out there. I think when you do that too, you kind of connect into what marketing calls, A/B testing. Because a lot of I was very intrigued to see that like even the technique of marketing is like testing because like nobody fully has the answers. You know what I'm saying? But we test when we do A and B just to see what the people are saying. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like what I said before. If you don't have the people locking into your music, you don't have a career. So if you change the or just remix the stuff, you can maybe get a good sense of that. Um, I think another thing with it all is you want to be able to um pick then once you have it, pick the route. Pick the route. And what do I mean by that? Well, sometimes when we're doing a rollout, when we put out a song, let's say that we that country artist that now we're putting out that rock record, right? Is the rock remix to our I love him, and we're putting out the rock version of it all, right? We'll put that and we'll pub it on all of our social media platforms. We'll do even music video. We'll pub it on our YouTube channel, put it on our website. I think all that is great. I've learned, in the early stage of the marketing, I'm like, go do it all. You know what I'm saying? Go do it all. But I've learned that you need to pick where you want to win. You know what I'm saying? Not just how you want to win, but where you want to win. And I think that's truly important. The route, the area, the certain platform you want to go after. You want to understand where your platform is, but where your potential fans can be at. I tell hip hop artists all the time, don't waste your time promoting on Facebook. Like, go to TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you there with TikTok? You know what I'm saying? Facebook, you can do R&B. You can also do some other types there, but you know what I'm saying? At the most part, like people are hearing newer music on TikTok, So why are you, why are you there? Especially because your age demo, you know what I'm saying, is probably on more so TikTok and Instagram than it is on Facebook in itself. So pick that lane. So maybe the lane is TikTok for you. And when I say pick those lanes, I say find that lane. So the rock record, let's say you now put it on TikTok, you know what I'm saying, and now you're working TikTok. When you work it, build the channel in itself as well too as you go along. And we do content cluster. I almost said it wrong. Content clustering, and then we do rollouts. But there's so many ways. But you have to pick a place to make a stand, right? You can't work everything at all times because you're only one person. And I learned, like I said before, I used to put it on everything. Like, yeah, it's gonna make it to everything, but right now we're gonna focus on TikTok. We're gonna focus everything about putting your music out on TikTok. We're gonna build the channel. We're gonna try to get more people interested as we are building your channel in itself. We're going to put it out in several different ways, the song in several different ways, all on TikTok, so that we increase numbers on TikTok. Now, yes, we want to do it on Facebook, we want to do it on the website, we want to build the email list and everything else, but we got to do it one at a time. We can't do it all at once and expect to see numbers across the board, you know what I'm saying, increase. No, pick one. I'm just doing Instagram. I just want to put out my single on Instagram and blow it up on Instagram. Then once I finish that, then I want to go to TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Then I want to go to YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be. But like pick one at a time because you are only one at a time. And if you do a lot, you're going to burn down. You're going to burn out. You're going to burn up. You know what I'm saying? It's just you. So you have to find one place to pick a route and then push your single in. You know what I'm saying? And then increase it. Um, and then you can increase in on other areas, for it all. But I hope that makes sense with that as well too, because that was a mistake that I made in the beginning. I was like, I wanted to do it all, you know what I'm saying? But now I'm learning just get a hit in one area, you know what I'm saying? Just grow one area, and then next grow the next area. We look at the different social media platforms and different ways you can put out a single. You know what I'm saying? You want to learn how to work your website. You want to learn how to work your Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and uh, X. It was Twitter, but now it's X. So you want to learn how to work all those things because all those things have a different type of vibe for it, and then you want to know how to work a YouTube because I used to be the type of like, okay, just put up your YouTube and then you're good, but focus on the rest of these other channels because that's got moving pieces and people are coming in. People are coming in your YouTube too. You got YouTube Shorts. So once again, you pick your lane and you just build on it. Build strongly on it. I was saying before to somebody else that your long form content is still important. So you still have to pay attention to YouTube and know how to work YouTube. Um, as much as you do short. You know what I'm saying? It's a different type of game for it all. Once you pick your lane, you're good for it all. Facebook is more family and friends. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be on there. Instagram, you're showing off. You're showing the behind the scenes. So you have to go and cut content specifically for that. You know what I'm saying? They love pictures more because that's kind of like how it started off more. So separating itself from Facebook. You know what I'm saying? So you have to make sure that you are putting out carousels or all movie type of content if you're going to do big stuff on Instagram. Because that's the type of lane that it is. You know what I'm saying? Like TikTok is very topic driven, for it all. So it does well when you put out in several different ways. You can do it on TikTok because it's like what is at the core of your song. You know what I'm saying? Is it love? Is it self-love? You know what I'm saying? Is it something conscious? You know what I'm saying? What is at the core of your music? Take that out, make content around that to put that out. You know what I'm saying on TikTok because it's very topic driven. YouTube Shorts and YouTube is very community based driven. For it all. So it's like you have different people like different social media platforms for different reasons and they go to it for different reasons. And so understanding why people go to your TikTok versus going to your Instagram or going to your YouTube is definitely going to help you to create the most powerful content, the most impactful and effective content for you when you are putting out music. It's going to help, it's going to connect, and it's going to do you good. Okay. So we're all talking about the pivot, with it all and how that makes, what that makes, when that makes, what I'm saying, how that all makes sense. Um and I love it. Like I'm here for all of it and every aspect of it. When you are also doing the pivot, in the pivot, you then have to understand your consumer, right? Understand their pain journey is what marketing speaks about it as, which is how do they get to you? Because we're speaking to how you get to them. You got to them through Instagram. You know what I'm saying? You got to them through TikTok because that's the route you took. But what about the route they're taking to you? Right? Why are they coming to you? Why are they desiring your song about self-love? I sat down with an artist and I asked them like, why are they even coming to your product? See it not from your side, see it from their side. Step into their shoes. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they're coming to your self-love song because they are they've always had problem loving themselves and now they're in college. you know um they just got out of high school. They're still dealing with some high school issues, so maybe they're 19, maybe 19, maybe 18, 19, and they're still trying to figure out how to love themselves, and it because it bleeds into everything around them, and so they always connect to a song that speaks about what that does for them. And because they're 18, 19, they got a Snapchat and TikTok. That's all they go on, so they got on Snapchat, they're looking at pictures and they're kind of going back and forth because they like those pictures, but those pictures talk to them about what they are having trouble with. loving themselves, their bodies, or whatever. So they're going on TikTok, and then with your song, you've said, okay, this is the topic. So you're cutting content around self love songs. So when they understand that that's what they're looking for, they're putting that into the query box, the search box, the search engine, or they're scrolling through the feed, they're talking to themselves about it. So then the feed itself that is listening, that is they're taking their modes and stuff, they connect your song with them. And when they hear not just your song, but they hear a video about you speaking about self love in itself and 3 ways how to love yourself better, because that's the content you connect with, they connect with that video. You know what I'm saying? Then that feeds them because they was having trouble with self love. And then you have another self love video on talking about how you struggled with that issue as well too. And then they see another piece of your content telling them about self love and maybe 3 books you've read that helped you with self love. And then the next video that because if the algorithm knows that you are staying on something, they say, aha, let's keep her with this. So they're going to feed her that. You know what I'm saying? We're calling the girl and we're going to feed, and let's give her a name, Janie. You know what I'm saying? Make her real, because at the end of the day, they call it your consumer avatar. You know what I'm saying? Your digital avatar, because businesses have this all the time. They have different people. They list people's journey on how they got to their product, so they know how to connect to them, create content around that, right? So they sort all this. Let's finish the journey. I'm side questing. So once they saw 3 videos, then your next one video, you speak about your song and how it connects with self love. So now they connected with that. They have now followed you, and now they want to hear your song. So now you've told them it's on Spotify. You've played some samples. You even have like uh, um, a little sample that you're now, because you got your music on Spotify, you got your music on TikTok, you got a TikTok sound. So they now use your TikTok sound for some of their videos, and now they want to know more about the artist that made this, because now it's now an emotional connection, right? So Jane now has an emotional connection because she was searching for something, because her life told her like she has an issue with it. She needs to connect with it more. So she followed that journey from just her life telling her this to now online telling her this, to then social media connecting with this, to the algorithm now connecting to you and creating this emotional connection with all of you guys. You know what I'm saying? And now you have her in such a way that you can continue to feed different songs to her. Now she's connecting, she's following you, she's hearing you. But before she got to your song, she heard your words, right? She was connected to the content that you already put out. Super, super important. And that's her journey. That's her pain journey to you. And let's say that, we talk about self-love, and let's say that's her. This is Jane. But with those avatars, you know, um, there's different ones. So maybe that's her and she's a college kid. But let's say they're Ella's, a mom, what I'm saying, who's 26 and has the same journey. Billy's a boy or whatever, and he has the same journey as well too, because guys struggle with that as well too. They all have separate journeys, but once again, they get to your page. So understanding that would then understand, like I said, how to cut content, because businesses do this all the time. They put themselves in their consumer's shoes. The worst thing you can do is believe that your consumer is just like you, because there's a lot of different phrases. There's a lot of different consumers out there. You do have something in common with them, but they're not just like you. So you need to sit and have some time with them, figure out their journey and how it connects to yours. Make sense? All right. Knowing all these things, and I'll land the plane right there, is so pivotal. Your pivotal decision can be the game-changing decision that takes you from failure into success with like one little change, one little pivot. If you look at basketball, they always doing a small pivot, And in order to do a small pivot that leads to a great impact, they plant somewhere. And it's a turn. It is a small turn that if they don't turn at the right time, they'll miss it. This year is a pivotal year for you to make those pivots that will put you into a new atmosphere, to a new altitude, into a new, solid, better music career. I hope all this helped. God bless you guys. Peace.